Hi everyone and welcome to the Curious Coconut podcast. Let me all ask you one question. How can virtual reality and the theme of nature come together? If I were to be asked this question, I really wouldn't know how to answer it either. In this episode, however, we talked to Pamudika, a developer of the VR game Cosmic Cook, which does just that. Cosmic Cook is an educational game that teaches players about colonialism, capitalism, and how it in turn can affect our natural environment. In this episode, we also learn about Pamudika's passion for academia, which is reflected in her pursuing multiple university degrees. Today's episode is one you definitely don't want to miss. So without any further ado, here's the episode.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Curious Coconut. Today I'm joined by my co-host Thong and a very special guest Pamudika, who I saw at a World Spotlight event at the University of Melbourne. Pamudika, do you want to quickly introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah. Hello, I'm Pamudika. And I'm currently studying my PhD in a few different fields in epigenetics, immunology, and behavioral neuroscience, and sort of combining all of those fields together. And this interdisciplinary topic is really why I moved to Melbourne from Canberra. So I really love science and I guess asking and answering questions. But I also really like doing art as well, and have my whole life, and specifically, I guess, painting, but also drawing and sculpture, and more recently, video games as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you're interested in a lot of different things, like
Yeah.
just science, arts, video games, computer science, like everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I can never choose what I want to do. And so I am constantly going from one field to another. And so I think in high school, I was known as the English student and loved doing English and everything and art. And then all of a sudden I was like, you know what, I might do engineering. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to do psychology and
Wow.
neuroscience. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really crazy. Like going from art to engineering to psychology to neuroscience and yeah.
Yeah, and immunology. We also
And
do
immunology. Yeah.
yeah.
I think I need to take some notes, write down everything you're doing. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
nah, that's really cool. Like one of the things that really fascinated me when I first saw your talk is that you are combining because you created a video game, right?
Yeah.
That you like a virtual reality game, and you
Yes.
wanted to promote sustainability and climate related topics. And
Mm.
I personally never thought those two things could ever come together because virtual reality is like as far away as I can think of from climate change.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about maybe what the World Fellowship is? Because I'm sure like not many people might know.
Hmm.
And what your project was.
Yeah. So I guess the Wattle Fellowship is a program that's run by the University of Melbourne. And it's really focused, I guess, on taking multidisciplinary approaches, and teaching the people about leadership, to be I guess, leaders in sustainability. And so I luckily got the opportunity to be a part of that program. And for that program, they have a leadership development plan where you can practice being a leader and developing those skills, and then also an action project as well, so where you actually get funding and resources to be able to create your own project that tackles a sustainability problem. And yes, just to do a virtual reality video game to talk about sustainability. And I think I really like, I guess, combining two things that people think that can't be put together and seeing what happens. And so, that's what I did with this project as well. So, I don't think it's something I've really seen that often with virtual reality and sustainability, bringing those two together. So that was something I wanted to do. I think virtual reality is super cool in that it's exciting and it's immersive and it can be really fun. And so using that, I guess, fun and playful element to draw people in and then talk about a issue that I really care about. So that was sort of the angle that I was going for. Yeah.
Cool. So you're combining virtual reality and sustainability and doing this together.
Mm, mm,
I wasn't at the event,
mm.
so I'm just curious how you made this happen. Like, what is it? What is it about, and what's the game called?
Yeah. So the game is called Cosmic Cook,
Okay.
and it's basically you assume the role of Cosmic Cook, who is an alien species, and their planet has run out of natural resources. So they don't have enough food on their planet. And so they've gone out into the galaxy to try and find food. And they've landed here on Earth and look at Australia and go, wow, what wonderful resources they have here, and starts taking those resources to cook up different meals and then send it back to their home planet. So and they're trying to sell as many of these meals as possible. So they're trying to make more money by selling these meals to their home planet. But then I guess throughout the game, they start to realize that, oh, if you take too many of one species, that species goes extinct, and then connected species also start dying. And then that means that you can't fulfill your recipes. So you want to make more recipes and, make more money, but you can't because you've killed off a species and then the connected species. So now there's nothing left to make. And then also you start realizing that your health is decreasing as the environment dies. So the more species that die, the more your health decreases as well.
Very cynical.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's trying to show that we are all connected, that not just our environment is connected with each other, not just the species are connected with each other, but we are also part of that ecosystem as well, and that we are all connected and our actions have consequences on other people, but also animals and plants and everything, basically, so that we have to, I guess, be sustainable in how we use the environment. Because in the game, if you want to keep playing, then you have to take care of the environment and make sure that even if a recipe comes up saying, oh, we want 10 lizards or whatever in this recipe, being like, wait, actually, I've already done a few recipes with those 10 lizards. I have to allow time for that species to regrow before I can take again, So it's like asking you to reflect, I guess, in that way. And then also at the end of the game, there is like a option to buy items, but if you kill off all the species, then how do you make those items? So you can't actually buy anything from the shop if you end up killing all those species.
Wow.
So it's like you might be able to get a cool hat, but what if there wasn't like the plants or resources needed to create that hat? Then obviously you can't buy it. So it's at the end, it's like you might have all of this money, but now what? Like, what's the point of having all this money if you've killed the environment and there's nothing to do with that money? So it's really asking us to, I guess, I wanted to touch upon like colonialism and capitalism as well, because I think that's very inherently connected with climate issues. And like all of these like global issues that we have are interconnected. And I think that's important in taking an intersectional approach when we are addressing these issues, and I guess planting that seed in people's heads of being like, oh, maybe I should reflect on how I am acting. And using this game, I guess, as a like a place to start and start that conversation, because it's fun and everything, but also, I guess, asks you to reflect as well.
Yeah, I love that there's like layers to it, right? There's obviously that game aspect of it where it's like fun and engaging and you want to maximize your profit by like beat the game or whatever. But there's also that like sort of deep philosophical layer that like, okay, if you're trying to maximize your profit, what are you actually doing to the planet? And how is that impacting on your health, as well as like the environment around you? So I really love that there's not just like one aspect. It's not like, so there's multiple levels to it.
Yeah, and even with the name itself, like Cosmic Cook, I wanted to like make a play on like Captain Cook,
Oh, I didn't even get that reference,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So what was the inspiration behind this game? Did you have like any idea or like where you started it?
Yeah, I guess sort of one of the inspirations was Overcooked. I don't know if either of you have played Overcooked. I
No,
love
can you explain it? I haven't played it, sorry.
Yeah. So it's just a cooking game. You're just like a bunch of chefs, and you work together to make like cook up different recipes and sell, like, you know, you make money. It's like, I don't know what you know, Cooking Mama, like, is that another one that's
Yeah,
sort of
Yeah,
similar?
it's
yeah.
quite similar.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, it's just like a cooperative cooking game where literally all you do is
It's cook
up.
meals,
Yeah, it's cook meals. That's
Yeah.
it, and you sell it and you make money. And yeah, I guess that was mainly my inspiration because I loved playing that game, and I just thought it was such a simple mechanic and like just super fun. And then I was like, well, how can I use this sort of like mechanic but talk about something I want to talk about in yeah. So I guess that was the inspiration. And I knew I wanted to do something interdisciplinary and like intersectional. Like that was really important to me going into the Wattle Fellowship program. I was like, I care about sustainability, but I care about it through an intersectional lens. Like for me, just talking about sustainability on its own like isn't enough. Like that's not where my passion lies. Like my passion lies in when we're talking about it in the context of other social issues as well, because they're all interconnected, and with climate change, the marginalized populations are the ones who are going to be hit the hardest. And so I think it's important to like keep that in mind as well. And so yeah, I knew I wanted to do something like, you know, talk about those issues in my project, but I wasn't sure exactly how that would look, especially through a game, because that can be really hard to do. And I guess that's also why I decided to pair that virtual reality video game with an education program as well. So there's an education program that links to the national curriculum.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we unpack those themes in the game, and this, like, you know, this is more future plans, but I also wanted to have it be something that you can do in a maths class or an English class or like a social studies class, or you know, like, because the game can have those different elements. So it might be maths in the sense of like looking at like subtracting and adding species, or like, you know, things like that. So that's like a maths element. But then in talking or using that maths part of the game, you also get to talk about other issues in the game as well. So it's like bringing maths and social issues together, sort of thing.
Wow, that's
Or
really
it could,
cool. Yeah.
or
Yeah,
it
it's
could
very
be like
interesting.
if you're talking about English and you're talking about the symbolism, like the name of the game, or, you know, the choice of the color of the plants or whatever, you know, all of that. Then you also talk about sustainability in that English class as well, you know. So it's primary, you can center an education program around that subject, but also talk about sustainability, because I think something that the fellowship has taught me as well is that sustainability exists like in all aspects of our life. Like we can talk about sustainability and consider sustainability in different aspects of our life, whether that be like as a PhD student in your laboratory, or whether that's like in like a tech company or something, or whether that's in a restaurant, or there's always a space for sustainability. And I think that sort of approach is what we need to tackle this like very complex issue as well, like to take it from different angles and be thinking about it in whatever we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm just wondering, who is this game intended for? Like what's the audience for the game?
Yeah, I think mostly at the moment, as it is with the education program and the virtual reality video game, it's mostly targeted at high school students. And but I think that really depends on how I take this game, because I think I do want to create maybe slightly different iterations of it, maybe, or
Yeah.
the education program and the virtual reality game, and target it at like adults as well. So I think that we often think that games are for like kids, you know, like that we think it's like it's games are for kids, you know, but I think games are also for adults. Like I know my parents loved virtual reality as well when I tried and showed that to them. I've had like co-workers when I worked at the National Film and Sound Archive. I took in my headset to like work and showed all my co-workers there, and you know, they were like 60 plus and they absolutely loved it. And I've showed like, you know, like I think a like family friend grandma who was like 80, you know, the virtual reality headset, and they loved it. Like, you know, like people love it. And so I think there is a market, like I guess for older audiences as well, that games and fun and play, you know, doesn't have to be limited to younger kids as well. So I think I want to create like an art exhibition as well that targets older audiences as well, and like
Yeah.
they can have that experience as well.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about like new technology, right? Because not many people have seen it. So like whether it's older or like younger, like people always get excited about it. And
Yeah.
that's why I think like, you could have made just a regular video game teaching the same concepts. But since you made it a virtual reality game, like more people would be like willing to try it out and just see what it does because virtual reality is still relatively like new.
Yeah,
Um
exactly.
so I think that's really genius
Mm.
of you in that
Well,
regard.
I think also the reason I chose virtual reality as well, like other than the fact that it is quite immersive, because I think if it's immersive, you can build empathy about an issue more as well. Like
Yeah.
you can connect more deeply with it
Yeah.
because it's immersive. But then at the same time, yeah, I think virtual reality is something that is not entirely accessible, especially with, the cost of headsets and everything. It's not really accessible to lots of people. And so it is still new. And then there's like, I guess, a niche there of I can, one, bring a headset to people as well, like give them that access, like, allow them to try something new and exciting,
Yeah.
but in the same, breath, like teach them about an important topic as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also I think it's exciting and fun that if like the first virtual reality video game you try, like say, when I bring it to schools and everything, that the first game that they've tried in virtual reality is a game about sustainability. I think that's more likely to have a lasting impact and make someone think about sustainability going into the future than if their first virtual reality game was like, I don't know, some other, shooter game or something like that.
I still think it's so cool that your concept is about sustainability and that it actually shows that resources are very limited, not like your typical games where you there's like a shop or something, you can just, if you have money you can just buy whatever you want
Yeah.
without any consequences. So this is still like something I find super super cool about your concept, which I haven't seen elsewhere. What do you think was like the biggest problem when you were going about this project?
Yeah, I think definitely. So I was working with one of my friends on this game, and yeah, for us, I think the biggest challenge was actually probably working out how this, like, I guess, managing when species go extinct and how each of the species in the environment are interacting with each other, because it was like we had bees, for example, and bees can take pollen from flowers, and then they go back to the hive and like reproduce and create more bees. And so like that worked for bees, but then it was like, how did that work? Would that work with I don't know, foxes or something eating rabbits or something like that? Like it was like, how are we going to, like, there's like something being taken and given from each of the species, like all these interactions, interconnected interactions, but making that work was, really difficult. We weren't sure how to do that. And so we had to like abstract it a layer, I guess, and then think of everything as energy. So each species or each like creature in the game has energy, and you take and give energy. So it's like if you're taking pollen, that pollen is actually just energy. Like when you're coding, I mean, like in the actual code, it's like energy. And so you take the energy away from the flowers and it's being given to bees now. And so bees have more energy, but then something else can eat the bees, for example, and then the bees' energy decreases. And then now that new thing gets energy. So it's really just like a system of transferring energy now. And so that was really, I guess, how we tackled that problem. But yeah, that was one of the
Wow, it sounds really
big
complex.
issues. Yeah.
Did it take you long to figure this out?
Yeah, I think it did. So like we normally have, I used to doing game jam games. So we've previously done a few of the game jams.
Sorry,
and so we're normally game jams.
Yeah.
So so a game jam is basically I think like I don't know exactly who runs them. I think it's like GMTK or something. But yeah, they run these like global game jams where you get like 24 or 48 hours or something like that, like a limited time frame to make a game according to a certain theme, and that's all you get. So like we were more used to doing that sort of thing. So it was like, oh my God, we have 24 hours. let's just go and like put together whatever we can, like write like, whatever code we can, create whatever
But you
3D
have to
models
have
we can.
you have to have a finished product by the end of like the
Yeah, yeah.
48.
So that
Wow.
yeah. So it
Yeah,
was
so it's
like
like a hackathon
Yeah, it's like a
for like
hackathon for games.
basically, yeah,
developing
exactly,
games,
for
I guess.
games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I think there's one coming up in August that we're planning on doing. And yeah,
Wow.
they're never like really good, amazing products or anything. It's like
Yeah.
they're pretty they're pretty bad. Like I think we created one called Baking Bad. And yeah,
Wordplay.
Love the names.
yeah,
Is it from Breaking
I
Bad?
am
Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
like I am someone who loves like name coming up with names for games and like the symbolism behind it. Like I
Uh-huh.
love like arts kid, like I love that.
Yeah.
And so like yeah, it was Baking Bad, and the idea was that you own a bakery and your bakery's struggling, and nobody's like coming through the doors, so you decide to experiment with your recipe for your cookies and make it extra addictive, to get people to come through the door more, and then suddenly your cookies come to life and are after world domination. And
Oh
so you have
wow.
to stop them from escaping the bakery.
Ah,
And yeah, you have like a rolling pin, a chocolate sauce gun, that sort of yeah vibe.
Wow.
that's
So
great.
yeah, so so yeah, those are the types of like silly games that we've made before. But yeah, so we were used to that. But then I guess with this, we actually had a whole heap of time, and we were like, oh, wait, how do we do this? Like,
How do we make an
like,
actual game?
yeah, exactly. Because like this was the first time making an actual game sort of thing. Because like the
Yeah.
game jam games are sort of just a little bit of fun, but this was like, oh, like we have to come up with a gameplay loop, and like it has to be like yeah, fully functional, not just like a small 24-hour one. So I think yeah, but the fellowship is over a year, and I'd say probably maybe like 7 months of that was spent yeah working on this game.
Wow.
Yeah, but just bits and pieces here and there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I want to go back to like the stuff about energy you were talking.
Mhm.
But like, yeah, it's really interesting. Like the hardest challenge that you had is like probably what people struggle with the most anyway in like day-to-day life, right? Like you don't know how different things might have an impact on other things.
Mm.
So I think that was super interesting. Um, but like, yeah, overall, like with the game development. What was that process like? Because I don't know, like have you done much coding before this and like graphic designing and things like that?
Yeah, so I guess I started off with bioinformatics engineering when I started at uni. And so I did a bit of coding with that, mostly in C. But then I think, yeah, and then I switched my degrees to like genetics and psychology. But in genetics as well, there's like a lot of coding and stuff. So then we did a lot of stuff in like Python to like do data management stuff.
Oh
But
yeah,
then I
yeah.
hadn't really like, yeah, I haven't really done much with games, and so like that was something new I had to learn. But I like we did do a bit with the game jam games, but mostly my friend is like the person who normally does most of the coding. But we did code, like it's like mostly in C# that we do the game in, and like we make it in Unity. But yeah, as far as the game development goes, I think we I hadn't fully formed the idea yet when we started making the game. I knew that we wanted to make a like overcooked style game. So like first, I guess we started making that. I was like, I know I want to do this and like have resources, and talk about how we use our resources. And so that's what we started with. So started like coding, like making like the recipes and like the user interface for that, and then like the energy system and all of that. And then at the same time as we were doing that, I was trying to come up with like the actual specifics and design behind the game and like
Hmm.
the art style and everything, because I still didn't know what I wanted it to look like, I guess, at that stage. I just had the idea of this is the message I want to send. And then I was like, what is the best way I can send this message through the art, through the symbolism? And so I think, yeah, that really came towards the end. And then all of a sudden, everything just like clicked into place somehow. I
Mm.
know it sounds
Yeah.
cliche, but I had the name and I was like Cosmic Cook. Oh, and I was like, oh great, like this is, I want it to look like, yeah, a different species, and like I guess put yourself like not thinking of it in terms of people or anything like that. Like, as in, what if you were the alien species that came here to Earth and was taking the resources? Like, I guess also creating that sense of like conflict in people of being like, wait, this is Australia, like my country, but here I am taking away its resources so willy-nilly, you know? And then I guess again getting people to reflect, oh wait, isn't that what was done here in Australia anyway? Like, you know,
Yeah.
like so it's like getting you to reflect and like be that person and take that
Yeah.
position, and then see how that makes you feel. And then even the things with like the blender, so like in the game you put ingredients into a blender, which is the 1788X Nebula 2000, which is
Very
another
specific.
reference. Well, it's another reference to when I think Captain Cook arrived in Australia.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you, with that blender, you put things into the blender and you shake it up, and like like with the blender, I think that's also symbolic in the sense of you have like this game itself is blending different ideas together of like virtual reality, education, and VR, you know,
Yeah.
sorry, and games. Like it's like all of these things. Oh, and sustainability, that's the other one. Those
Yeah.
three, like virtual reality, education, and sustainability, and blending that together. And also just like blending these ideas together as well with like the intersectional approach to sustainability. And so that I wanted that to be, I guess, symbolic as well. And I was like, well, that fits in as well. So I think, and then also like with visually how it looks, I wanted it to be a bit more, I guess, realistic as well, because I didn't want it to be too abstracted, because I want people to still connect with nature in the game. And so I wanted to make it seem more real, because I was thinking, and something I'm more comfortable with is maybe doing art style that's more like, you know, like fantasy sort of art style,
Yeah.
with the games, like more cartoonish, more like cutesy. But then I was like, if I do that, then maybe that, I guess, removes opportunity for people to really connect with nature. And so I wanted to keep it more realistic. And then also that ties in, I guess, with the third part of my project, which was the hands-on workshop as well. So where the component where students actually get to go out into their local environment and plant native species. And so I thought if it was more realistic in the game and looked like the real plants that we have in our environment, they can connect through virtual reality and then really like at a deeper level connect in real life as well. So bringing, I guess, using virtual reality to draw people in and then tying it back to the natural environment in real life as well. And so those three parts of that program were really important to me, like having the virtual reality game, the education program, and then the hands-on workshop.
Yeah. It's really cool that you're using virtual reality to teach people about reality itself.
Yeah.
So that's
I
really
think that's a
nice.
nice way of putting it.
Yeah. But yeah, sorry, Tom.
Yeah.
I think you were saying something.
No, I was just going to say this. I didn't expect that to be so many layers to it.
Yeah,
It's
me
actually
neither.
very, very well thought through. And you've
Yeah.
actually thought through every little detail that, you know, you probably wouldn't even think that it was intentional, but you make it intentional, which is just something that I thought was like a little crazy, but also like super, super cool. While you were doing this fellowship, were there any specific highlights that you can think of that you took away from?
Yeah, definitely. I think with the fellowship, like going in, honestly, I didn't even realize that like leadership was a big part of the fellowship when I applied to it first. I was like, oh, a sustainability program. I was like, how cool. I was like, I've always wanted to do something in the space of sustainability, but didn't know what I could do. I was like, as a scientist, like, you know, as someone who does science and art, I was like, what do I have to give? I was like, I have nothing to give. I was like, I can't contribute anything. And then, so I've always been like, but this is something I care about. And if I care about it, I want to do something about it. So I was like, what can I possibly do? And then, I like one day randomly opened up my emails and I was like, oh my God, there's a program called the Waddle Fellowship that's all about sustainability. And I was like, whoa, this is the perfect opportunity. I was like, I have to do this. And so, so I think, like, I guess there's so many different highlights, but one big thing is finding that space like in sustainability for me, like that being like, wait a second, I can contribute something, and actually everyone else can contribute something too. And like maybe I can help other people realize that they have something as well, that they can do, that their skills are needed, and that, you know, that we're all part of this and we can all do something and like, you know, like contribute together. And I think that was something that was like exciting and like brought me hope as well, because I think especially with the climate like crisis, it can be quite daunting and like make you feel hopeless as well. And so like that was, I guess, nice to find a place and be like, wait, I can use my skill set, like my video games and my arts and even science, to like do something and contribute in some way. And I guess the fellowship really allowed me to find that niche for me. Like it allowed me space and like the resources and time and everything to be able to do that. But then also, yeah, the leadership side of things, because that was like sort of connected to finding that space as well. But yeah, I didn't realize it was about leadership. And then it was like, oh, and also it's a leadership program. And I was like, wait, I was like, but I'm not a leader. I was like, I was like, I can't, like, you know, I can't do this program. I'm not a leader. But then, yeah, but then realizing what leadership can look like, and realizing that it's not like this traditional idea of leadership of powerful positions or whatever. Like you don't have to be the boss of anyone to be a leader. That, you know, it can be being like creative in your solution and like taking initiative and taking charge and like leading a project and doing something. And that there are different types of leadership, like values-based leadership or something, that I more strongly identify with, that I had never even heard of before I joined the program. And so I think that also frame shift of being like, wait, I can be a leader, has like allowed me to do more things as well. Like I'm like, you know what, like this gives me the confidence and like I guess encouragement to go out and do more projects and continue this project as well going into the future.
I think I already know the answer to this, but would you say you've changed a lot since like you started the fellowship compared to now?
Yeah, definitely. I think sustainability like has a bigger part in my life. It is something that I consider more often now as well, because I feel, I guess, more empowered to do something about it. And I think, I also see myself more as a leader now as well.
That's great.
I mean, I think it's still something I struggle with and probably will always struggle with. But I think, definitely being on that journey now and being like, at least I'm making progress and going somewhere.
It's all about the baby steps, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. For this thing that you signed up for, right? For the for the fellowship program, was there like a time where you were like talking yourself out of it, sort of like, oh, but I'm not a leader though, and then you were just thinking to yourself, oh, maybe this isn't for me, and then you just wanted to opt out or something? Did you have those moments?
I don't know if I ever really wanted to opt out, because I think going into the fellowship I had this idea already, like as in like that I wanted to create a virtual reality video game for sustainability. So I was like I want to do this. Like I knew that going in, I guess. But at the same time, I was like, wait, but I was like, this is a fluke. I was like, I shouldn't be here. I was like, especially like looking around at everyone else, I was like, oh my God, everyone else is like so cool. And I was like, they all do so many cool things in the space of sustainability. And I was like, I'm just a nobody. So there were, I did feel like, I think there was some major imposter syndrome of like being like, whoa, I think they like accidentally put me here, rather. So like that was definitely a constant struggle. But then I think I like ended up being like, well, whether it was a mistake or not, I'm here now and I might as well make the most of it.
That's right.
So so I was like, maybe I'm not meant to be here, but I am here now, so let's try and do the most good that we can.
No, I definitely get that. Like University of Melbourne can be a bit daunting at times because you feel like, oh, there's so many cool people. I don't think I belong here. But then at the end of the day, no, I think you do. Like everyone belongs there. And they can make their own path. But I wanna go back to like the action part of the project. What did you do like once you like, made the video game, had it all like sorted out? What was the next step for you?
Yeah, so I think, well, the video game's not all sorted out. There's
Well,
still there's still
sure, sure.
like video game, a proper video game takes much longer than I thought it would.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think talking with council as well. So I actually, while I'm doing my PhD, I'm also working at my local council. And I wanted to use that opportunity or like that connection as well to show my game. So I like talked with my local council to show my video game at their school holiday program as part of their school holiday program. So now that should be happening in July. So yeah, that was like, I guess, the next step for me. And then yeah, talking with people I knew, like teachers I knew, about showing the virtual reality video game in their classes
Schools,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
were you able to get any people to actually play the game like during the project or like until now?
Yeah, so I think we did like some test runs, but not
Yeah.
really like fully not like just fully play the game because we haven't released it or anything.
Okay,
It's
okay,
just
okay.
like it's like only on my headset at the moment. But yeah,
Fair,
hopefully it will
fair.
be like available like on Oculus later on, because I don't want it to be like, I feel like there's more opportunity for bigger impact if it's also available just as a standalone game as well. Like, so at the moment it's like the game and education and hands-on workshop, but it doesn't have to be that way. Like, if people want to play the game, they can also just play the game by itself, and like that in itself is there's still something to be taken from that as well. Yeah, so hopefully I will release it.
Yeah,
No,
awesome.
for sure. I think you should definitely.
Yeah.
Sounds really interesting. I mean, if I have an Oculus, I would definitely give it a go.
Yeah.
But for this video game, I was also just wondering, is it a multiplayer game? So do you cooperate with other people like you do in Overcooked, or is it like a single player game where you
Yeah,
roam
so this
around
is
and do
a
everything
single
yourself?
player game.
Okay.
Yeah, I think multiplayer game is like next time, because that's hard. I think
Yeah.
getting it working on a single player game is hard enough, and then
Yeah.
not multiplayer just adds like a whole new complexity to it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, because with multiplayer game, you have to have like a server and like the ability for people to connect
Yeah.
with each
Yeah.
other.
Oh my God, it's a
That's a
nightmare.
whole other
Yeah, like
like,
we've definitely like talked about it with other games that we've made before,
yeah.
and just realized that it's so much work and that we do not have the skills for it currently. Like, know your limits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's
yeah,
great. Like, yeah, small steps, you
yeah,
make
exactly.
a regular game first, like single player,
Hmm.
then then you make the next one multiplayer even better
Yeah,
and bigger.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, nah, that's great. And yeah, like what's your plan going forward? What do you hope to achieve with this game?
Yeah, I think I want this to be like an ongoing program that I have running. Like, so I think, like I think this is a great opportunity to go to like many different schools, like rather than just like one or two schools that I
Yeah.
know, like offering this as like a permanent program that people can go onto my website or something and then like request a booking, and then so I can like travel out to them or whatever with the Oculus, and that they can experience that in their classroom, I guess. So it's like a ongoing education program that they can book. And then also, I guess, having that art exhibition, like reaching wider audiences as well. Like, putting this virtual reality video game into like an art exhibition. And maybe I'd like to do some paintings and collaborate with some other like climate artists or something as well. And
Yeah.
have like an art exhibition where there's visual, like paintings that you can just see, but then also like interactive pieces, which is the virtual reality video game as well. So I think that's something I definitely like to do in the future. And then just like any sort of like educational school groups, I guess, like like expanding from classrooms to maybe like scout groups as well, or other local councils who are running school holiday programs. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just because I think once you have that product and once you have the education program and like the workshop, it's just a matter of like, I guess, reaching wider audiences. So I want this to be something ongoing, especially because it does combine, like, I guess, a lot of my skills and interests. Like, I've always been interested in education as well. Like, I worked for 6 years at the National Film and Sound Archive as an educator. And so like this is something that I really love doing. Like, I love teaching and like working with kids and like, you know, like I guess seeing like the joy and like excitement when they learn something new, like that's so fun to me.
Yeah.
And like I always like loved my teachers and stuff. So like yeah, so I've always like loved teaching, I guess. And then yeah, combining that with my love for art and like games, like I love games as well. And yeah, sustainability. So this is something I think that is like special to me, and like I feel like I like care about this a lot. So I think it's something that I yeah definitely want to keep doing.
Yeah. I'm just gonna ask like a really random question.
Yeah.
Um, but what is something that you haven't done? Because I feel like you've done like, art, you've done sciencey stuff, you've done engineering, you've built a video game, you've been an educator, you're like doing a PhD, like
Yeah.
research. Like, just give me something that you haven't done.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think there are so many things I haven't done. There are so many things that I
Okay,
want to
okay.
do.
Let me
Like,
rephrase. Like, what is something that you haven't done that you would want to do, maybe like, 5 years or 1 year later?
Top
like,
on your list.
oh,
Top of your list right now.
top of my list. That is so hard. I'm like, there are so many things that could, I wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Oh, that's so hard. Oh, honestly, I think something that like, okay, this isn't top of my list. This is one thing that I would like to do.
Hmm.
I think linguistics is something that I'm really interested in as
Linguistics.
well.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I think that is something that I think would be really cool. But I don't think that's like top of my list or anything. That's just like a, oh,
Yeah.
this is sort of yeah,
Maybe
So
top
fun.
like
three,
learning a
top
new
top five.
language. Sorry.
Yeah, learning. Well, actually, I guess one thing that I would like to do more is learn like Sinhalese. So I'm Sri Lankan, and I can speak Sinhalese and like sort of read and write it in like very basic, like kindergarten level.
Hmm.
But I think yeah, like learning my own language more would definitely be something that's on the top of my priority list. Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Maybe traveling. Yeah,
Traveling.
traveling.
Uh,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we know about your game now.
Mhm.
But we were also wondering what made you decide what you've studied in the past. So you said you studied genetics,
Yes.
then psychology, and now doing a PhD. Like
Yeah.
what's the correlation between them, and like how do you get to these fields of study?
Yeah. Honestly, this is yeah an interesting weird path. I don't know. Yeah. So I think in year 11 and 12, yeah, I loved English. So I did like double English,
Mhm.
art, like maths and physics and stuff as well. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, I was like, I think I enjoyed the English side and art side more. But then I didn't really do any biology or other sciences. Like physics was the only science that I really did. And then when I was going into uni, I was like, even though I love English and art, I think I don't think I would do it as like a profession. Just because I think it's something I do enjoy and I don't want to have to like live off it, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. Like I don't want to have
Mhm.
to always be like, oh, how am I going to make money from this? Or like,
Yeah.
you know, so I'd rather keep that as like something that I love doing and take, I don't know, enjoyment in doing.
Mm.
And so yeah, so I was like, I think I've just always been interested in biology, I guess.
Yeah.
But I hadn't really done that. And I knew I enjoyed genetics in like earlier years in high school. And so I was like, well, yeah, that seems like something I would be interested in. But then at the same time, I was like, I really wanted to do engineering actually, because I was like problem solving. Like I like that problem solving aspect of it. So I thought bioinformatics engineering, and psychology. And I've always loved psychology because I think it's like super interesting. Like brains are super cool. I think brains are so cool.
I
And
agree.
like we are just brains, right? So like, everything that we think are just like is like all through our brain, and like how we interact and perceive everything is through our brain, and like yeah, the way we behave and everything. So I think that was really cool. And yeah, so I started off studying bioinformatics engineering and psychology. But then I hated UNSW, which is where I started. So I moved to ANU and then switched to genetics and psychology. And so like was doing that as my double degree. And I guess like with that, I always thought of doing combining like psychology and genetics, like, like that background to like help with like mental health illnesses as well, like as in like I think mental health is like a really big problem, in our world right now as well, like in addition to sustainability and all the other things that are going on. And so yeah, I wanted to like, I guess, work towards that and like help people in that way and improve, I guess, our quality of life by studying that and doing research in that field. Yeah, and then I learned actually about like the blood-brain barrier and how our immune system and our brain can interact with each other and communicate with each other, and that can contribute to mental illnesses as well.
Wait, can you explain that? I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, so I think that these are like I guess theories, but they found that basically like that like gut dysbiosis has been like connected to depression, and so yeah, like, and that like when we get sick, for example, like we have these like molecules called cytokines, which are, I guess, messenger molecules between immune cells in our immune system, and that they can cross our blood-brain barrier and go into our brain and change our behavior as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like, so I think that really interested me when I learned about that in psychology, and I was like, whoa, this is such a cool area that I want to learn more about. And so I thought I'd do my honors in immunology, and that's why I did that, because I wanted to understand the immune system better. Yeah, and then I thought, well, I want to combine all of that. And yeah, that's how I ended up doing my PhD now, which is, yeah, looking at epigenetics, immunology, and neuroscience. Yeah.
Cool. Lots of
Lots of
things to
things.
talk about.
Yeah.
So what don't you love? No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, even choosing like a PhD, even choosing like a uni degree, I was like, it was so hard for me because I
Yeah, it
was
must
like
be so
constantly
hard.
like,
Yeah.
oh my God, there's so many things I want to do. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I also do miss like computer science now as well, because like I really like I did enjoy that. And so yeah, I think luckily like because we handle such big data sets, we do have to do like coding as well. But it's not really the same. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I also noticed on your LinkedIn that you work at the Gene Technology Access Center. So what's your role there and what do they do?
Yeah. So I think I haven't like worked there like a lot recently, just because I've been more focusing on my council job. But the Gene Technology Access Center, basically it's like a science like lab place that students can come to, and they get to actually have like hands-on lab experience. So they can run the different experiments during high school. So yeah, they come here to Parkville, and we are basically like tutors who will like take them through the lab experiments and everything, and like workbooks and things like that to understand different topics. Yeah.
So what kind of lab experiments like do they usually do?
We might do things like gel electrophoresis, which is like to try and like work out, you put like different proteins into different wells, and like they travel through this like gel matrix sort of thing, and then get sorted by different sizes. They do like, we talk them through sometimes like how ELISAs work, which are like a way to like detect different types of like immune, I guess, response, like, you know, things in your immune system and how like the different molecules. Yeah, there's like different, it depends on really, I guess, the topic that they're studying. But yeah, there's like normally like one topic that then they go into of about like the theory of how it works, and then an actual experiment where they can see that in action as well. Yeah.
Cool. And like just to go back to your PhD, like what are you actually doing in your PhD? Is it research? And do you have any projects that you're working on for the PhD?
Yeah. So yeah, as a PhD is just research. And we actually work on mice. And it's looking, my specific project is looking at how I guess viral infection in fathers can lead to epigenetic changes in their sperm, which then lead to behavioral changes in their offspring.
Oh.
So, and that can look like depression or anxiety. And this was actually a recently published paper by our lab, which found that just paternal immune activation alone, so just activation of the immune system alone, can lead to sperm epigenetic changes. And then that, leads to depression-like behavior in mice, in their offspring. And so our lab has done a lot of different like environmental factors. So we've looked at like, viral infection, bacterial infection, well, not infection, like I guess it's like pseudo infection because they're like mimics that like mimic a bacterial infection sort of thing. And then also things like stress as well, and how they all impact our sperm epigenetics. And I guess my particular project is working out the mechanisms involved in that process. So like what part of the immune system is causing that change. So I'm trying to isolate which part of the immune system is leading to those, behavioral changes in offspring.
Nah, that makes sense. Like basically doing a lot of genetics and immunology stuff. And just trying to figure out like how different things might impact like sperm and like mental health of offspring.
And I think this is like something that is interesting as well, because I think we often always think that like it's like, the mother that has to like look after diet or, like not, drink alcohol or all of these things when they have like, like when they're trying to get pregnant or something. But actually like it turns out like from the father's side as well, they're contributing something as well with different changes in their epigenetics.
Yeah, and that can have like impacts, that not many people would necessarily think about on a first time basis.
So
So
I think there's more and more research in this area now, so that's good.
yeah, no, that's really good.
Yeah, very
And I
interesting.
guess like overall, what do you hope to achieve with your PhD? Is there any like goal you have or thing in mind that you're looking towards?
Yeah, I think, well, with my PhD itself, I think just like, I guess, understanding more about this topic and like immunology and behavioral neuroscience, because I hadn't really studied neuroscience before. Like I'd done psychology, but not neuroscience. So I guess, understanding neuroscience a bit more. And then also, I guess hopefully finding an answer to, what part of the immune system is causing this change. I think that's definitely something I'd like to know from my PhD. Who knows if we'll ever, get a full answer on that in my time. But I think that would be super cool to work that out, or at least make like big progress in that space. And then I guess I hope to continue doing research after this, like, like even if I can't find an answer to this exciting question, just like gain skills in research so that I can keep doing research in the future and work on answering other questions.
Cool. Well, I think we've about asked everything that we kind of wanted to ask. So let's move to our closing section. So a thing that we like to ask all of our guests is something that excites them about the future. I mean, you've basically just mentioned something, but is there anything else that would excite you?
I think something like, I don't know, maybe this isn't something that should excite me, I don't know. But something that does excite me is that, like, I don't know, the possibility of change. Like, I think, like just through the fellowship and just seeing what's happening around me as well, and like seeing other people getting like inspired and like wanting to take action and stuff and like make our world a better place. Like, I think that is exciting to me. That's something that I really care about. And I think with everything I do, that's something that drives me and motivates me, like this idea that we can have a better world. I know sometimes it does feel very like hopeless, and it's like a constant battle between like yes, we can do something about it, and also like, oh my god, there's no hope left, there's what's the point sort of thing. And it's like a seesaw of that. But I do think it's exciting, like seeing more people care about like different things going on in the world and caring about each other. And like, I think, that is exciting to me. And like, I think it means that there's lots of different possibilities that maybe we can work together to make things better.
Very good, very
That's really
optimistic.
cool.
That's
Yeah.
that's good to hear. Some people are quite pessimistic when it comes to this question.
Yeah.
Talking about AI taking over the world and stuff like that.
Yeah, look, yeah.
Yeah. So no,
Yeah,
that's
there's
good answer.
a lot of
No,
bad
that-
stuff with AI. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't choose AI. But I
Yeah.
want to say, like, what's your take on the recent Neuralink trials that have been going on? Because I think you mentioned neuroscience and stuff. So
Mhm.
just wondering.
What's Neuralink? I actually don't.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I
So
don't know
okay, so
about.
that's like one of Elon Musk's companies. And I think they
Oh, is this like the
recently,
reading the brainwaves thing?
yeah.
yeah,
It's
and
like
they
implanting
Yeah.
implanted
chips.
like chips in your
Yes.
brain.
Yeah. I have heard of that. I don't know a whole heap about it. I actually went as part of the fellowship, I went to South by Southwest in Sydney. And they had a presentation about I think not Neuralink, but a different company that was trying to do that same thing. Which was like read brainwaves, but I think they were doing it specifically for like biotech, like sort of like, I don't know, like arms and stuff. Like, so if you're like move my hand up or down or something, then it will read your brainwave and like operate the mechanical arm or something like that. And yeah, and they were also talking about like, I guess the possibility of using like that, like, you know, like reading what the brainwaves are saying to communicate with someone else, like, you know, for carers and like giving
Yeah.
carers that space. So I think there's like lots of people who are in like positions where they have to care for someone who can't communicate properly. And then they feel like they can't leave even the house or something, or go out into the garden to do anything because they have to care for this person all the time.
Yeah.
But then having that like option to read someone's, I don't know, brainwaves and like have that communicate or do basic functions like that to allow them to do basic functions is like more freeing and stuff. So I think there's like cool possibilities with technology like that always. But I think it always depends on who's doing it and who's making it. And I think
The intentions
maybe
behind it, that sort of thing.
yeah, exactly. So if it's for like money and like, you know, like things aren't considered of like how it might affect other people or like the negative consequences, then I think it can always end up in a bad place. So it's like, you know, I don't know, cliche again, but like if people, like the wrong people get their hands on it sort of thing, then I think it ends up in disaster. But I think there's like potential for good as well. Like I don't think technology is inherently bad. Like I just think that people use it for bad, but it can also be used for good.
Yeah, I think technology is just a tool, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's up to people to use it for good or bad. So
yeah, but I think it also needs to be built. Like when it's being built, those things have to be considered. And I think that's always the struggle as well. Like when those tools are being built, if your teams aren't like diverse enough, if your teams aren't considering these things, then you're going to build tools that inherently do have problems built in. So yeah.
Yeah, no, this yeah, I think there's many different ways technology can be used. But next question that we like to ask is, do you have any book recommendations or like any podcasts that you like to listen to that you would recommend to our listeners?
Oh, this is a good one. Recently I have been raving about All About Love, which by Bell Hooks. And I think it's like it's maybe not for everyone, but I think it is like does offer a different perspective on how we approach love and like how we interact with our world, like in the sense of like at a personal level with ourselves, but also like with our friends or like community and like just like, the world in general, I guess. And I think it's like a way of maybe approaching life like with care and compassion, you know. And I think that can be a nice different perspective maybe sometimes from what we're used to seeing.
Wait, so is it a non-fiction or a fiction book?
It's a non-fiction.
Okay, that's all right.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess that's all for the podcast. Just before we say bye, is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience? So this could be a plug to something, for something, a way to connect with you, or just about anything that you would like to say to our audience.
Yeah. I don't know if I have anything in particular, but if I guess people want to follow what I'm going to be doing with my video game, you can follow me on, I guess, LinkedIn at the moment. I will create a like Instagram probably for the video game, because I think like that creative process of like the art and everything is really cool, and I love like showing the behind the scenes of all of that. So I think that is something I want to do. It's just like PhD life is really busy, and I have not had
Yeah.
I have not had the time
Yeah.
to make an Instagram account yet. But yeah, so I think maybe for the time being on LinkedIn, and then I will update when I actually start an Instagram page.
Sure, sure. We'll follow you on your LinkedIn, and then we can stay up to date with your journey.
Yeah. Cool.
Well,
sounds good. Well, go on, Aadi.
Yeah,
You can do
sorry.
it.
Yeah, well, I just want to say thank you, Pamudika, for coming on the podcast today. And yeah, we really had quite a lovely time talking to you about all different aspects of life, I think. Many different aspects of life, not all maybe. But yeah, thank you so much for coming. And yeah, we wish you all the best with your video game.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on the podcast. It's been really good to talk to you both. Yeah. And I guess gain more clarity for myself as well about exactly what I've been doing.
Yeah.
It's always like helpful, I feel like, to talk about, the project and everything. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, all along this was just a session to help you clear up your brain. Yeah. This is a therapy session in disguise.
episode.
Yeah, exactly. For me. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See ya.